Hi, everyone. Thanks for attending this presentation where we are going to deep dive on the lessons that we've learned into our experimentation journey at ODA. And I hope that they bring value to you if you are starting or doing some experiments or A/B tests in your organization. My name is Xavier. I work as engineering manager at ODA for the past couple of years. I've been leading the experimentation platform team in the organization and also co-owning the experimentation program. You can find me on LinkedIn. I've also written extensively on data as a product, data product management, scaling organizations, and experimentation in Medium. And I'm very happy to announce today that we have actually been nominated as the candidate for winning the organizational-wide award on the Experimentation Culture Awards. So this means that everything that you are going to hear today has led us to actually being nominated, right? So what we are going to cover, I'm going to explain about ODA, about online experimentation, our experimentation journey, some numbers for the 2023 program, and then at the end, and what I think is going to bring value to you is our learnings from this journey. So who is ODA? Basically, ODA is a pure online grocery store in Norway. We've believed that we've built the most efficient retail system to bring groceries to the people so that you can have more space for other activities or space for life. Basically, how it works, you download our app or browse our website, plan your weekly shopping with us. We prepare it in our fulfillment center, and then while you are enjoying more fun activities than going to a supermarket, we deliver it to you, and then you receive it in your business or at your home, and the only thing that you have to do is to unpack the groceries. We've built our platforms internally, so everything is custom built. We have the web and apps, and we have a logistics platform that take care about the fulfillment center operations and the delivery of the groceries, and we have a tech and data platform. These platforms support currently 2 markets. We serve ODA in Norway, and since the beginning of this year, we have also transitioned Mathem in Sweden into the ODA platform to reach efficiencies also in Sweden, right? We used to be in Finland and Germany, but we shut down the operations due to high interest rates on capital, right? Yeah, and then last year, my colleagues Nina and Maria were here presenting about the 6 principles about how we create value with data. And as you can see here, there is a lot of distributed data ownership that we talked about also in others, or we hear about in other sessions with data mesh. We have principles about treating data as a product, et cetera, But today, I would like to focus on the principle of impact through exploration and experimentation. So it's going to be a deep dive on experimentation. So what is an online experiment in the context of ODA? So here you can see an example. Basically, this is the header of our website, and we have 2 versions. Control is what we used to have, right? And our treatment is something that we want to try as a new version, right? And here you can see that the only difference between control and treatment, or version A and B, is the number that you see on the top right. So in control, we show the number of items that you have in the cart. In the treatment, we show, or version B, we show the running total of the costs of the product that you have in your cart, right? We are going to deep dive a bit more on this experiment at the end of the presentation, but just for now, imagine that we split the users in 2, and we serve one version to 50% of the users, the other version to 50% of the users, and then after some weeks, we look at the results, and we are able to identify which version performed better according to our metrics for the experiment. ODA or the product and tech organization at ODA is about 300 people. So, and these are the people that are empowered to run experiments, right? I say this to get a sense of how big or small is our program. And I want to launch like a quiz. I don't expect the answer from the audience, right? But how many online experiments do you think that we ran in 2023, right? And as you can see, it's not in the order of thousands of experiments, right? So we are quite humble here, right? And you can see it's in the order of hundreds. But the catch here, it's not about the numbers, it's about the question. Because what is an experiment, right? Let's look at the same numbers in a different way. So we ran 133 online experiments, right? But not all of them were valuable to the organization. And we ran A/B tests and we ran AA tests to test that the platform was trustworthy, right? And reliable. But the number that we are interested here and the number that we use to set goals for our experimentation program is the number of trustworthy completed A/B tests, right? And these are the experiments that we have that have finished, that they are in good, the data is in good shape, we have good quality about the data, and we use them to either release the treatment or version B, the new version, or to learn. Right? And yeah, not all of these experiments we have launched the treatment, only in 68 of them. But for what is important here is also like these 37 experiments where we didn't launch what we thought was a good idea, right? And this is important because we prevented the users from a bad experience, or we prevented releasing something that it was bad for the business. When it comes to our journey, we can basically split it in between 2022 and 2023, where these were the years where we had the major growth in our experimentation program. And then we can talk about a bit what happened before, or how we used it, how we did experiments before, and in 2024. I will start with 2022. So before that year, we didn't have an experimentation platform. Everything was code in the backend. We didn't have an analysis engine. And basically, everything was running, or like the motivated teams were the ones running experiment, right? So like it's a bit scary to look back on how we used to run experiments at that time. And in 2022, we invested in an experimentation platform. We use Growthbook today. We choose Bayesian over the frequentist approach, as we were mentioning before, right? And we also adopted an hybrid experimentation team structure, meaning that we had like experimentation platform team, and then analysts and scientists embedded in teams running experiments autonomously. We launched AA tests, and then we did a major investment on documentation, how-to guides, templates that I will share more later. In 2023, it was when all teams were experimenting, right? And there were some key experiments that we ran that increased the confidence from senior management. And then they were like, OK, like, we are never going to come back to release something without a feature flag or an experiment because of the capabilities that this provides to us and the learnings that they provide, right? So product managers started to actively plan and report and adopt like an always experiment policy. Like every new feature was released through a feature flag, a gradual rollout, and sometimes even like an experiment, an A/B test, right? We invested a lot into making sure that the experiments were took into account also business metrics like revenue, profitability, etc. Right? And then we introduced risk profiles of experiments that I will explain also later. This year, we started with the merge with Mathem. So we didn't experiment a lot there, but we used feature flags to make sure that we had like a safe transition between platforms, and like we decommissioned some features through feature flags in Mathem before moving it to the ODA platform. And now we are doing some automation on our technology and running experiments on assortment optimization. And now to the 5 learnings that I think that would be beneficial for you. First one is definitions matter a lot. And people in the organization had different expectations when we set goals about the number of experiments that we wanted to run. So that's why we created this metric tree, because one thing is the number of experiments that you are going to, that you can count off. But I really believe that if you put a goal on the number of experiments for a team or for a department, it should be on the number of trustworthy completed A/B tests, because this is where you are going to learn. Right? And you can have also goals on setting or decreasing the number of unreliable A/B tests, for example. If you see that those number of tests are increasing a lot, you can set goals on that, and then the platform team can work on making the system more reliable, for example. Then the second learning is about how we best structure the organization in order to maximize the success of the program. So basically, we have a central team, a core services team owning the platform, and they are responsible for the metrics and making sure that the infrastructure is robust, right? And then we have a center of excellence that owns kind of the experimentation program, making sure that, yeah, people follow the best practices, the documentation, et cetera, and this is the director of data and insight together with the lead data analysts in the departments. And finally, we have a distributed model when it comes to owning the data, right? So the cross-functional product teams, they are responsible and they have full responsibility and full autonomy in which experiments to run and the frequency of running those experiments. And this aligns very well with the distributed ownership principle from data mesh. And they can also contribute to the practices of the experimentation program. We invested a lot in capabilities that make the teams to be autonomous in testing. And I think that this is our learning, like the third learning that I wanted to share. Like we spend a lot of time documenting, providing templates, how-to guides. We run bi-weekly community of practice sessions, and now we have, I think it's more than 20 hours of recordings of sessions around Bayesian statistics, sessions around people explaining about experiments that they have run, sessions about how to plan one experiment, how to analyze another experiment, and so on and so forth. We also tested this high-touch approach of embedding analysts from the Center of Excellence into the teams in order to accelerate the rate and the frequency in which they were running experiments, right? And it was not all about experimentation and A/B testing, but just the matter of fact, the fact of being able to just use feature flags to release something and make sure that nothing breaks, and teaching the software engineers in this case around this was very beneficial to get them started into using the platform, and then they didn't want to go back into like just releasing something without the gradually rolling it out part, right? And so this was also very good to increase the number of experiments. Learning number 4, and a bit more detailed, we introduced the guardrail metrics in experiments. Like in the past, we used to just focus on one single metric for every experiment. Like every experiment had a key metric. If the impact was positive, then people would say, OK, let's release this because it shows a positive effect, right? But as I was saying, like we introduced business metrics like retention metrics, revenue metrics, and profitability metrics to make sure that we also took into account the business strategy under the experimentation program, right? So, for example, if an experiment provides a positive impact on revenue and also on profitability, then it's like a go. Like we should release the treatment, right? But if the experiment shows a positive impact on revenue, but it impacts negatively on the margins or on the profitability, then somebody like an accountable lead for that team or for that area need to make the call, right? And this has helped a lot our teams to have like a framework on planning the experiments, because this is not only something that you do like after the fact, but also like when you were planning the experiment, you have very clear, you can do the decision making beforehand and saying, okay, if this is positive and this is negative, I will do this and that, right? And finally, the last learning, and going back to the previous experiment that I showed. So this is, we introduced risk profiles for experiments. And this is what we consider a low-risk experiment, meaning that we make the conscious decision of releasing or like implementing the treatment version B here, if and only if like the metrics or the numbers that we got after the experiment didn't hurt our revenue, profitability, retention, or user experience. Why? Because this feature is something that our users have requested us, right? So this is something that if you go to a grocery shop, this is what you would like to have in your shopping cart, right? How much I am spending now in the cart. But it's very difficult to provide in physical stores. But we have the possibility to provide that. But having the possibility doesn't mean that we should provide it, because actually people internally were very afraid of showing this number to the customer, because you don't know what is going to be the impact on this, right? So we said, OK, let's do an A/B test. This is the culture that we want to foster in the organization, right? Let's try, and let's see what happens. So we implemented the A/B test. And we said, like, this is a customer feature. If we don't see a negative impact on the metrics, we will release this feature. And this is what happened. Like now, if you browse the website, you will have the running total of the products on the cart showing, because it didn't hurt our metrics. And during the duration of the experiment, it actually increased revenue and increased profitability, right? So this is probably like a short-term effect for the duration of the experiment. But it was like, OK, it seems that the user is trying to it's playing with this number because you have some fees regarding like the amount of amount that you're spending, right? There are some fees related to if you go above certain thresholds, etc. So it's like people is thanks to this number, people is adjusting their shopping behaviors and actually maybe shopping more frequently or shopping for higher baskets, etc., right? So at the end, this helped us a lot. Our experimentation in the end helped us a lot optimize our product with these simple features, as you can see here. So yeah, thanks for listening. These are the 5 learnings. Hope they are useful to you, some of them at least. And if you have any questions, I think we have 1 minute.